That bike used to be mine.
Well, it's mine now.
Hello, and welcome to a fresh new episode of Marvelous Video. Regular readers are acquainted with writers such as George Orwell, Mark Twain, and J.K. Rowling, using their famous pen names. Out of the long list, one such author is our favorite, Richard Bachman. Today, we'll discuss Bachman, his origin, explore his list of works, and cover his tale of death, too. If you're a regular reader of King's works, I'm sure you are well acquainted with his other personality, too. But if you're new here, you're in for some exciting knowledge. So, let's begin.
All done.
Where is she?
Where's who?
Richard Bachman, who? I'm sure if you are a fan of horror and thriller genres, you've definitely heard the name. Let's keep it short and simple. Richard Bachman is actually Stephen King himself. Bachman was definitely not merely a pseudonym. If you've been watching this video, you must be interested in exploring all about Bachman. You're in the right place. Richard Bachman was the product of a literary experiment. He was the brainchild of King. Bachman had a life of his own, a biography, and even a death. Now, if that's not interesting enough, I don't know what is. As the story goes, at the dawn of Stephen King's career, the publishers were wary of publishing books written by the same author throughout the year. The limit of publishing books in the market was restricted to one per author. Otherwise, the production would saturate the market. King turned the saturation of the market into an advantage. King proved the publishers wrong. With an abundance of works to his merit, King crafted another name, Richard Bachman. This allowed Stephen King to publish more of his works. King was already an established author. He was already successful and popular enough to sell books under his real name. The first three novels, namely Carrie, Salem's Lot, and The Shining, reached bestseller status. So, why did he need an alter ego all of a sudden? As his fans know, Stephen King is one of the most successful horror storytellers of our time. It's his abundance of workflow that led him to create the pseudonym. This was not all. While introducing the Bachman books, King specifies that taking up a pen name was also a test of his success. He adopted the name to verify whether his literary success was due to his talent, or if it was sheer luck. He wanted to test whether the public was reading him because of his already created image, or because of the successful writing. The Man Who Was a Mystery, the birth of Richard Bachman. So, now that we know that Stephen King is Richard Bachman in disguise, it's time to see how this fictional writer was born. Although King crafted Bachman to carry out experiments with literary thoughts, the author also gave Bachman a distinct biography. This helped in solidifying the existence of a separate author. King made up the name Richard Bachman using the pen name of Donald E. Westlake, i.e. Richard Stark, and Bachman Turner Overdrive, a rock band that King was listening to at the time. When the publisher asked him to provide a pseudonym, the name Richard is a tribute to the crime writer, and the name Bachman was inspired by the name of the rock band. In the early novel, Stephen King also put forth biographical content in the About the Author section. Bachman was born in New York and served in the Coast Guard for 4 years, followed by another 10-year term in the Merchant Marine. Post-retirement, Bachman finally settled down in the rural part of central New Hampshire. There he ran a medium-sized dairy farm and wrote during the night. The fifth novel of Bachman was dedicated to his wife Claudia Inez Bachman, with whom he lived after the demise of his only son at a very young age, at the age of 6, in a very Stephen King-style accident. The boy died as a result of falling into a well and drowning. In the year 1982, Bachman was infected with a brain tumor at the base of his brain. He underwent surgery that removed the tumor, but Bachman kept secluded from the interviewers to recover. Stephen King also playfully included the picture of his agent's insurance broker between the folds of the books. This helped in creating an image in public. King published 5 novels under his pseudonym, Richard Bachman. Rage, 1977. Rage, published in the year 1977, is a psychological thriller. The story follows a troubled teenager, Charlie Decker, a high school student at Placerville High School. He's summoned to the principal's office as a result of attacking Mr. Carlson, the chemistry teacher, by striking him on the head with a heavy weapon. After attacking a teacher and being expelled, Charlie leaves the principal's office. He returns with a semi-automatic pistol. He set his locker on fire, saving his tightest padlock. He returns to his class and shoots his algebra teacher, Mrs. Underwood. As the locker fire sets off an alarm, the students begin to exit the classroom. Charlie asks his classmates to stay seated and shoots another teacher, Mr. Vance, when the latter comes in to notify the students of the fire alarm. What happens after this is not just an intense hostage event, but a perturbing psychological unraveling. As the police surround the school building, Charlie turns the classroom into a confessional ground. persuading his classmates into speaking out their deeply embedded insecurity, trauma, and annoyance with adult supervision. The students form a group in the emotional discussion taking place in the classroom, dismissing the line between captor and captive. The story ends with Charlie in a mental institution, with hopes of leaving the place. Rage had to be pulled from the book racks for the horrific subject matter and its influence on real-life school shooting. The Long Walk, 1979. The next book in the list is The Long Walk. This is the second novel written by Stephen King under the pseudonym Richard Bachman, in a futuristic American society governed by a totalitarian regime. The Long Walk is a yearly brutal contest organized by the Major every year on May 1st. A competition is organized known as the Long Walk. In the course of this competition, 100 teenage boys have to walk continuously without any breaks. The rules of the competition are simple. They have to walk at a minimum speed of 4 miles per hour. If one falls behind that pace, that child is given a warning. Food is handed out once a day. Once the walk begins, participants are not allowed to accept any outside assistance, but they can help themselves provided each of them stays at a pace of 4 miles per hour. Each walker has a timer that is set to 120 seconds. With a drop in speed below 4 miles per hour, the timer begins to count down. The first warning is given when the timer reaches 90, followed by a second warning at 60, then at 30, and finally, a ticket at 0. Accumulate 3 warnings, and you'll be shot dead by the soldiers following the walk. This is what is meant by buying a ticket. This is not mentioned in the dawn of the book, but this becomes evident after the walk begins. Serious violations such as vacating the road for any reason or attacking the soldiers end up in immediate ticketing, i.e. immediate death. There are no rest points, no finishing line, and only one winner, the last lad remaining alive. He receives the prize. The prize consists of a large sum of money, but the amount is not mentioned. Not only this, he also gets whatever he wishes for. The central character of this story is a 16-year-old boy named Ray Garrity from Maine. He joins the walk along with the others. As miles increase, the boys become physically tired and psychologically distressed. This torture pushes the boys to their limit. Bonds are made and broken, secrets spill out, and the touch of civility washes away under the threat of death. This book serves as a physical trial as the contestants come face to face with the idea of their deaths. With a minimalist setting and haunting realism, The Long Walk hints at themes of mortality, friendship, and totalitarianism. Roadwork, 1981. Yet another novel in the list is Roadwork. This was a thriller novel published in 1981. It's a disheartening and thoughtful novel about personal agony and resistance to modification. The story is about Barton George Dawes, a middle-aged man employed at a newspaper press. His life takes an uncertain turn when he's about to lose his home and his workplace due to demolition. A new highway will replace these. Having lost his son and suffered a failed marriage, Dawes becomes extremely remorseful as he realizes that the destruction of his home is the final blow to everything that he once held dear to his heart. He refused to come to terms with the change. He decided to disrupt the construction process. Through this action, he turned his underlying grief into a rebellion. Roadwork is a novel that deals with the theme of mourning, protest, and the failed attempt to hold on to the bygone time. The Running Man, 1982. The Running Man is yet another work by Stephen King disguised as Richard Bachman. This book is the 4th novel King wrote under his pseudonym. It is a mammoth of a book, consisting of 101 chapters. The story is set in 2025 in the American Midwest, where the protagonist, Ben Richards, needs to collect money for his severely ill daughter, Kathy. As a last resort to make money, he enters a ruthless reality TV game show. The show is named The Running Man. In this game, contestants are killed by professional killers. They must survive for a total of 30 days to achieve their prize, while Richards traverses the country, successfully evading capture. He exposes the corruption of the reality show and the barbarism. Of the media. The novel ends with a plane crashing into Killian's, executive producer of the game show, office, and Richards grinning. The ending showcased the dark themes of oppression and resistance. The story was adapted into a motion picture in 1987, with Arnold Schwarzenegger playing the role of Ben Richards. Thinner, 1984. Thinner, written by King as Richard Bachman, revolves around Billy Halleck, an overweight lawyer. While returning home with his wife Heidi, Halleck accidentally kills an older woman in a car accident. Though he was acquitted due to his connections in the court, he's cursed by the woman's father, Tadeusz Lemke. The latter brushed his hand on Billy's cheek and uttered the word, thinner. Soon after that, Billy begins to lose weight without any alteration in his diet. Initially glad, he soon realizes that he has been cursed. With his weight continuously deteriorating, he begins his search for the Gypsy Man to reverse the curse. He continues to uncover truths about justice, guilt, and vengeance. The novel offers insight into the themes of morality, and the consequences that result from escaping one's duty. What caused Richard Bachman's death, and what happened after that? Richard Bachman's death was purely at the hands of the author who created him. In 1985, a bookstore clerk named Steve Brown discovered that Stephen King and Bachman shared a similar writing style while reading thinner. Brown looked through the publisher's notes at the Library of Congress, containing a document that named Stephen King as the author of one of Bachman's books. Brown wrote to the King's publisher, and within 2 weeks, he received a call from Stephen King himself. King asked Steve Brown to write an article about this discovery. He also allowed Steve Brown to conduct an interview with him. Wicked as his novels, Stephen King played his trick and declared Bachman dead due to the cancer of pseudonym. There was a mock obituary. According to the obituary, Bachman's widow, the fictional Claudia Inez Bachman, discovered several unpublished manuscripts lying in the attic. The books were subsequently published. The Regulators first, and followed by a trunk novel, Blaze. Surprisingly, both of these books gained significantly more recognition than any of his works published during Richard Bachman's lifetime. Marvelous verdict. We have now reached the end of our discussion. Stephen King is no doubt one of the most successful horror writers of the modern era. Reading King as King himself and as Bachman gives readers a better understanding of the writer's psyche. Each story comes with a unique plot to keep the readers hooked. My favorite from the list is definitely Rage. King masterfully shows the emotional outburst of a child facing abuse. I'm sure you have a favorite among the list too. Did you find yours, or did we miss it? Tell us in the comments. Until next time.